Hollywood has sunk to a level that even many of its defenders are struggling to justify. What should have been a quiet, sorrowful moment after Charlie Kirk's assassination on September 10th instead turned into a spectacle. Rather than pause out of respect, a number of celebrities reacted with mockery and political grandstanding. At the center of the backlash is Tom Hanks, the man long marketed as America's kindly everyman. In this video, we'll unpack how Hanks and others turned a tragedy into a political stage, why networks scrambled, and what this reveals about celebrity culture. Subscribe to my channel. We're not letting them rewrite the story. On that awful day, the country witnessed a violent, senseless act that should have prompted reflection. Instead, many public figures immediately began politicizing the moment. Rather than offering condolences or silence, they weaponized the incident for partisan talking points. It wasn't limited to social media snippets. Late-night bits and celebrity posts amplified the spectacle. This shift from grief to gloating signals a deeper rot, an entertainment industry eager to capitalize on pain. In the coming minutes, I'll show examples of that exploitation and explain why it matters beyond mere headline grabbing. Tom Hanks occupies a unique place in the American imagination, the friendly dad figure, beloved for wholesome roles and nostalgic charm. But in recent days, that carefully cultivated persona has been strained. Instead of offering respect, Hanks appears to have lent his platform to stoking partisan outrage. For decades, audiences trusted him as a symbol of decency. Now some see that image cracking under the weight of political posturing. This isn't about private beliefs, it's about choosing to turn a national tragedy into content. That choice has consequences, and we're already seeing the fallout. This isn't the first time a celebrity has used tragedy as a launching pad for political commentary, but the speed and tone of the responses this time were extraordinary. Insiders say the reaction went beyond an offhand tweet or a quick remark. Some celebrities drafted sketches and segments within days. That kind of rapid pivot from sorrow to satire suggests planning, not spontaneity. And when entertainment executives greenlighted such ideas, it revealed how normalized the practice has become, turning pain into political theater rather than treating it as a human loss deserving of silence. Sources indicate NBC faced a real crisis over the planned content. Executives reportedly reeled as producers pushed forward with segments that would caricature Kirk and his supporters. The network ultimately pulled back, but not necessarily because of a moral awakening. It appears their decision had more to do with calculating risks, viewer backlash, advertiser concerns, and potential legal exposure. Even so, the fact that such a sketch was conceived at all shows a willingness to trade decency for ratings. That calculation is telling about priorities in modern entertainment. Imagine if the roles were reversed. A star beloved by the political left died suddenly, and within days, a sketch mocked them on national TV. The response would have been immediate outrage, heartfelt apologies, and likely firings. Yet when the target is someone outside the mainstream Hollywood worldview, the rules seem to shift. What's labeled satire for one group becomes sacrosanct for another. That double standard breeds cynicism. It suggests content decisions are driven less by comedic intent and more by which political narratives producers want to reinforce. According to reports, Hanks had been lined up for multiple SNL appearances, each featuring sketches that leaned on mocking conservative voters. Those plans were reportedly scuttled after the uproar. Whether Hanks personally pushed for those sketches or merely participated, his association with the material damaged the trust many viewers placed in his everyman image. When a public figure trades a neutral cultural role for partisan performance during a moment of mourning, the result is predictable. Fans feel betrayed, and the credibility the celebrity once enjoyed begins to erode. The SNL situation also highlights a broader issue: the decline of genuinely balanced comedy. Shows that once aimed for cross-aisle humor now frequently produce segments that read like political op-eds. Audience fatigue is real. Many viewers feel they're watching recycled talking points dressed as sketches, not fresh satire. And when that satire targets someone freshly bereaved, the audience reaction is swift and severe. Networks can try to rework or recast sketches, but the damage to trust and brand perception lingers longer than any single episode. The network's response was telling. Rather than canceling the concept entirely, insiders say producers chose to adapt, recasting roles and softening certain lines. That move suggests the concern was optics, not principle. They wanted to avoid the immediate storm without addressing the underlying impulse to politicize tragedy. Swapping faces doesn't solve the core problem, a production culture that views pain as fodder. Until that mindset changes, the same dynamics will repeat, simply with different performers taking the fall. This same playbook has been at work across the entertainment landscape. Shows known for controversy, like South Park, reportedly considered storylines centered on the incident and then pulled them as the backlash intensified. Even creators who built brands on provocation paused when the optics became too risky. That hesitation underscores an important truth. There remains a boundary, at least in practice, between edgy comedy and outright exploitation. But when many in the industry openly flirt with crossing that line, it's a warning sign of cultural erosion. The reaction from other high-profile figures has been predictable. Some seized the moment to double down on partisan narratives. Writers, late-night hosts, and prominent authors began framing the incident as yet another opportunity to critique an opposing political movement. These instant takes often lacked nuance and empathy, favoring applause lines over honest reflection. Such responses reflect a media ecosystem that rewards polarization and rapid monetizable content, even at the expense of respect for victims and their families. To be clear, criticism of policy and political ideas is a legitimate part of public discourse. But there's a difference between debating ideas and exploiting tragedies for partisan gain. When the latter becomes commonplace, the line between journalism, satire, and propaganda blurs. The industry's willingness to blur that line shows a prioritization of audience metrics over moral considerations. And in the long run, that prioritization erodes public trust, not only in the individuals involved, but in the institutions that enable them. The backlash to Hanks's association with the controversy is only just beginning. Fans who once viewed him as a cultural touchstone now say they feel misled. Some are canceling subscriptions, others vow to stop watching programs they see as antagonistic toward their values. Whether those reactions represent a lasting shift or a temporary outrage cycle remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: celebrities whose brands rely on perceived authenticity risk losing it fast when they appear to exploit human suffering for personal or ideological gain. Let's remember history. Hollywood has long been accused of selective outrage and hypocrisy. From awards show monologues to late-night monologues, the pattern repeats. Grand moral declarations from a stage, followed by sharp partisan digs at people outside the cultural elite. The difference now is the speed. Social media accelerates outrage and makes every misstep into a viral moment. That environment pressures studios and networks to react quickly, often opting for damage control rather than principled reflection. The entertainment world's reflexive politicization raises harder questions about accountability. Who decides what is permissible satire? Who enforces ethical standards when private companies regulate public discourse? Currently, the incentive structure rewards sensationalism. Controversy drives clicks, engagement, and ad dollars. Until those incentives change, studios will continue to greenlight content that courts controversy. And the recurring result is a cultural climate where empathy is undervalued and sensational partisan shots are normalized. There's also a human cost. Families and communities affected by tragedy deserve space to grieve without being thrust into a political crossfire. When public figures use those moments to score points, they dehumanize the victims. That's not just a PR problem, it's a moral failing. If audiences begin to reject that behavior en masse, it could force a reckoning in which producers and talent recalibrate what's acceptable. But it will require sustained pressure, not merely a week of outrage followed by forgotten trends. So, where does that leave Tom Hanks and his public image? For decades, he enjoyed broad goodwill that allowed diverse audiences to separate his art from the culture wars. Now, that goodwill is fraying. Whether Hanks redeems his standing depends on his choices moving forward: sincere contrition, restrained public comments, or doubling down on partisan performance. Reputation is fragile. Once an image of neutrality cracks, rebuilding it demands consistent, authentic action over time, and many stars fail to do that. Finally, this moment is symptomatic of a larger cultural malaise. The entertainment industry, which once aimed to unite and amuse, increasingly looks like an arm of partisan messaging. That fuels resentment and fragmentation, pushing people away from shared cultural experiences. If networks keep prioritizing short-term outrage over long-term trust, they risk hollowing out their audience base. The question now is whether studios will adjust or whether they'll keep chasing engagement through polarizing content until viewership collapses further. I want to hear from you. Do you believe the public figure image makers can reclaim credibility after incidents like this? Will audiences demand more ethical boundaries around tragedy, or will the cycle continue? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're tired of the same manufactured outrage, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. We'll keep tracking how Hollywood's choices shape culture and hold them accountable. This episode might be a turning point, or just another headline. Time will tell.